Good afternoon. I am parked, so no seatbelt on. So don't be yelling at me. Uh, it's funny. I had planned this message to actually sit down at my house where I'm setting up my little media area and do it there. But, things happen in life. Curveballs come at us. And I used to get stressed out over this because with my ADHD, I learned make a plan, make a system, stick with it. And then when something would happen to screw up that system, I'm like, this can't be happening. It's the end of the world. But I've learned to grow and roll with the punches, go with the flow. So things happen that change my plans. So I make new plans. I'm in Walmart parking lot. I got set back on time today because of a couple of things, a visit and a phone call and stuff like that. So I have to be to work in a little bit, but I really want to get this message out. It's my counterclaim to the left's claims about abortions. And I'll tell you this, people think I shouldn't speak too much about my past, my far past, the criminal part of it. And, they'll get over themselves eventually. I'm not worried about that. But the reason I speak about it is because of how much I learned from it. You go through all these groups, especially if you were in a drug addiction program, drug or alcohol addiction program. You go through these groups and you learn so many things that once you get back out into society, you see that it's not just drug addicts, it's not just alcoholics that have these thinking errors. True, we called them criminal thinking errors because we took thinking errors to a whole new level of criminal action. So they were called criminal thinking errors in the programs I was in. But once we get into society, we see they're thinking errors, and a lot of people have them. Just about everybody, I would imagine, to some point. But one of them is justification. An addict will always justify why they're getting high. The kids had me stressed out. Work had me stressed out. This had me stressed out. It really comes down to it. There's no justification. The reason you're getting high is because you want to get high. The reason you did a crime, there's no justification because you wanted to do that crime. You're a grown adult. You knew it was right or you knew it was wrong. You knew you were choosing wrong. You knew right from wrong. You chose wrong because you wanted to do it. So that's the criminal thinking error side of it. But in reality, in life, we see justification in everything. Why did you quit your job? Oh, because of this, because of that. You quit your job because you wanted to quit your job. You used this person's behavior as an excuse of why you quit your job. But really, you wanted to quit your job. You justified it through this. And when it comes to the abortion subject, the left will justify killing of children. They will call it everything. It's abortion. It's not a child, it's an embryo. It's not an embryo, it's a fetus. Everything to kind of take away the human aspect of it to justify the right to have an abortion. And that's what this is going to be about. It probably won't be my last message on abortion because I don't expect to change minds here. I just want to get out a little bit of a counter side of what the left has to say. And I'm going to be reading from my notes, so if I'm not looking at the camera the whole time, it's because I'm reading my notes, because I don't have this whole memory thing going on. Anyway, so their first claim would be, well, not their first, but the first one I'm going to go over is, it's not a life, it's a parasite. Yes, they've actually called this a parasite. The problem is, put parasite into Google search and look at the definition. The definition is parasite, an organism that lives in or on another species and benefits by deriving nutrients at the other's expense. So a child growing in its mother's womb, though it derives its nutrients from the mother, it is not doing it at her expense. Therefore, it is not a parasite. Now, after 6 weeks, you have the heartbeat. You have throughout the pregnancy. Now, we have to go throughout the pregnancy because it's not even just the 6-week bill in Georgia, which I'm fully in support of. At 6 weeks, there's a heartbeat. I don't believe in any abortion. Even if you got pregnant yesterday, I don't believe in the morning after pill. I don't believe in any of that. I believe that life begins upon conception. So I do support the Georgia bill that at 6 weeks, there's a heartbeat. No to abortion. But the left has pushed even up until the day of delivery, that child can be aborted. And if there was a botched abortion, which botched abortion just means, hey, the child came to term and was delivered, they have the choice of just sending that child into another room and letting it suffer into a slow death, or drowning it in fluids to finalize the abortion. No, that baby's out and breathing. You can't do that. That's murder. Anyway, so I have to go through all phases of the pregnancy. At 6 weeks there's a heartbeat. But if we continue to look, there ends up being a digestive system, a nervous system, all kinds of the reproductive system, male, female, everything that constitutes a human life form is there. Therefore, it is a life. It is not a parasite. And then if we want to go according to Scripture, which I love going according to Scripture, obviously I'm a minister. According to Scripture, God knows us before we are in the womb. Yeah, I'm not speaking too clearly. Blah, blah. Before we are in the womb, God has known us. That is Jeremiah 1, verse 5. So, we are life even before we are a physical life. So, that's my counterclaims to it not being a life, but being a parasite. Now, the other claim they make is, I shouldn't be forced to be an incubator. Anybody, especially those of my family who raise chickens, you know what an incubator is. An incubator is a box that has a heat lamp on it to keep the temperature right, that you put the eggs in there and you incubate them, keeping them to the right warmth and movement until they are ready to hatch. So they're saying I shouldn't be forced to be an incubator. Now, I kind of agree that you shouldn't be forced. However, let's look at this. According to the CDC, Center for Disease Control, less than 1% of abortions are because of rape and or incest. So, since it's less than 1%, outside of that 1% of abortions come from two adults in consensual sex. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but it is well-known fact that when a male and female have sexual relations, protected or not, there is a chance that pregnancy can occur. Common knowledge, right? I would think by now, as adults, it's common knowledge. Alright, so since this is consensual sex, nobody has been forced. This also means that the consequences of a possible pregnancy have been accepted. You're having sexual relations, knowing that even if it's a slight chance, there's a chance that pregnancy can occur. So you're accepting those consequences for your desire for pleasure. So if you've had consensual sexual relations with a man and you have become pregnant, then it was by choice. Therefore, by choice, you have become an incubator. You were not forced. There's no force in your choice. You chose to have sexual relations knowing the consequences could be pregnancy. Therefore, nobody forced you to have sex. Nobody forced you to be pregnant. Nobody's forcing you to be an incubator. You chose that. So now, excuse me. Here's the big one you hear. The government has no right to tell me what to do with my body. And you know what? I agree. They are 100% correct. They can get a tattoo. They can get body piercings. Heck, they can go out and augment their breasts and butts all they want. I agree. Nobody should be able to tell them they are not allowed to. However, let's go back to high school, folks. Let's go back. Maybe even middle school now, I think. To basic sexual education, which teaches us that a non-pregnant woman has sexual relations with a male. The male's sperm works its way to the woman's eggs, and then the sperm fertilizes the egg. This egg has now become an embryo. The embryo is now a life form created by the combining of the male and female DNA, and though it will mimic both of them, it is of its own unique DNA. It is its own separate life form. And though the embryo or fetus, whatever you want to call it, I think it's a child, I call it a child, I call it a life. Though they require the mother to grow and survive, it is in itself a separate life form and therefore a separate body. Abortion is not about the body of the woman, but that of the life growing inside of her. A separate body which should be protected under the law of thou shalt not murder. Now, let's go back to the CDC. The most common reason given for having an abortion is, I was not prepared to have a child, or it is an inconvenient time to have a child. So what it boils down to is lack of self-accountability and responsibility are the root cause of abortions, the reason millions of children are murdered every year. So let's move on to this claim of cutting funding to Planned Parenthood cuts many reproductive health services for women. Now, this is not so cut and dry, but here goes. As long as I learn how to follow my notes. Anyway, so yes, this could be a possibility. However, this is only if Planned Parenthood is greedy. And what I mean is this. Let's look at the numbers. Let's look at the facts. 3.4% of all services provided by Planned Parenthood are abortions. Not too bad, you say. Maybe if you don't mind killing babies, but now let's take a look at the facts and figures. Nobody ever said they want to shut down Planned Parenthood completely. Only the abortion clinic part of it. When you take away the non-pregnancy related visits and only look at the services provided to pregnant women, the numbers are staggering. And now this is in 2013 to 2014. Out of 348,217 cases, 1,880 ended up in adoption referrals. That's great. 18,684 were tended to with prenatal care. That's good. That means they were tended to and eventually had the child. 327,653 were terminated in abortion. That's 94% of the pregnancy cases. So maybe 3.4 overall looks small. But not when you realize that it is over 300,000 dead children. Planned Parenthood does offer other services, but not what you would think. They don't offer mammograms. Did you know that? No, they don't. Just like any other pregnancy center or your family doctor, Planned Parenthood does not have any mammogram equipment. They simply will do the breast exam or the, gynecological exam. Then they refer you to a specialist. Nothing more than a family doctor can do. So all of their services can be spared if they would just give up abortions. That's all. They'd still receive funding without issue, but cut the abortions out. It should be a no-brainer, right? You would think, anyway. I mean, after all, 3.4%, that's not a huge cut for them, right? It isn't until it becomes that 94% cash cow of pregnancy services. Therefore, out of their own greed, Planned Parenthood will remove their nose to spite their face. That's what they're going to do. They're going to remove their nose to spite their face. They're going to keep those abortions because that is their cash cow. They don't make nearly as much money off of any other service as they do abortions. So, there truly is no justification for abortion. Most pregnancies are not realized until at least the 6th week, at which time there is a heartbeat. So at the end of the day, abortion means a heartbeat is ended. There's no justification in that. And now many will say that pro-lifers only care about life in the womb. They don't care about life after birth. This simply isn't true. The problem is we care about all phases of life. But the struggle right now is getting that life born. That's where the struggle is. Nobody's fighting on having foster homes. Nobody's fighting on having adoption agencies. Nobody's fighting on having responsible parenting. They are fighting to kill the children, to prevent them from being born. That's where the fight is. I say if we end the abortions, stop the abortions, then we can all focus on life after birth. We can all focus on getting the foster care situation straightened out. We can all focus on getting adoption straightened out. Make it a little bit easier for certain people and couples to adopt. But for all that to happen, we have to get through the battle of abortion. If we end abortion, we can all come together in a very systematic way and take care of all the other situations. Got to come down to end of the abortions. Now, who knows, seriously, when it comes to abortion, who knows what great futures are being murdered in each abortion? There could be a future president, a future scientist who's going to cure cancer. Could be the next Michael Jordan, or could be just the next beautiful child in any town in America. They all deserve the same chance at life. All of them. Now, like I said, this is not going to be my final on abortion because I know, A, the left isn't even going to listen to this. Coffee. The left isn't going to listen to this, and even if they do, their minds are so set in their own policies that they are just going to come up with different justifications. But like I just said, there is no justification to murder. None. Whether it's someone here in the parking lot or a child in its mother's womb. Murder is murder, and there is no justifying that. And we've got to come to that reality. The left is in this utopia where everything's okay. Everything they think of is okay. It's okay for women or for men to one day wake up and say, I'm a woman now and I'm going to compete against women. And you think, well, that's not horrible. It's not when you look at track and field. It's not fair when you look at things like track and field. But what about when it comes to things like wrestling and martial arts, mixed martial arts? You know, they want these men who challenge the rules and say, I'm a woman now. They want to be able to fight as women. They're going in there and beating the heck out of women. That's wrong. But the left sees that it's okay. They see everything as okay. So I don't expect them to listen to this video. I don't expect them to agree with this video. I don't expect any minds to have been changed. But I feel as a minister, I would be remiss if I did not put a counterclaim out there that shows exactly how irrational the arguments from the left are. Because that's all they are. They're just irrational justifications. And really, honestly, we can now actually consider it, since I consider that murder, it's criminal thinking. It's criminal thinking errors. To be able to justify the taking of a life, whether it was created yesterday when mom and dad came together, or whether it's 6 weeks old, or whether it's about to be born today. It doesn't even matter. The fact of the matter that, and we'll go back to the rape and incest, which, yes, horrible, horrible. I condemn that all the way. However, I look at it this way. Not every rape or incest situation ends up in a pregnancy. But when they do, there is no life created that does not have a plan from God. And though it may be a reminder of a horrible, traumatic experience, there are children out there that were born from rape situations, and they will tell you what their life is about. Their life has been about lessons for others through them. You know, I'm sure one of the hardest things a woman can do is to accept a child that came from the pregnancy was created during a rape situation. I'm sure that's extremely hard, because every time you see the child, you're probably going to see your attacker, your rapist. I know, I can't even imagine how hard that is. However, that is a life. That is a child, and it's still half your child, and it's your opportunity to say, you know what, something horrible happened, but out of that horrid, traumatic event, this beautiful, beautiful life form has come, and I'm going to raise this life form to be a proud, productive member of society, to be a child of love, not a child of violence like its father was. There's always, always, always an opportunity. That's why God gives us children. He has a plan, and with each plan is opportunity for growth. And I don't mean just physical growth. I mean with us, spiritual growth, mental growth, emotional growth, physical growth too, yes. There's always an opportunity. So I'm hoping you like this message. I know it went long, but that's because it's for YouTube. I'm going to try and break it down into little segments to put onto Facebook. And then if you want, you come and see the full thing. If you do like it, please hit like, share it, subscribe. I need subscribers on this channel. I really want to start building this channel up. And I'm going to try not to be political on it. I can't promise anything because, you know what? Politics are in the air. So anyway, I hope you guys like this. Please hit like, share it, and subscribe. Thanks, guys. Bye.